We looked at what I thought was going to be the biggest washing of an article from the mainstream media that we were likely to see about Snow White, specifically about Rachel Zegler and how she is just a misunderstood star. But man, like this one totally slipped my mind. Leave it up to Collider to be the absolute most pathetic outlet going. Snow White becomes the second highest grossing movie of Rachel Zegler's career while pushing her past a majestic box office milestone. Just photoshopping her with bags of money. Okay, maybe that's her paycheck personified, because if we're talking about this film in $100 bills, unless it's the amount of money that has been wasted, lost, and burnt because of this toxic little tart, I would consider that to be just an outright lie. Like, Collider has been a legendary for their shilling, but I think this has got to be the worst, right? I couldn't even imagine anything else coming close. This is so bad. Snow White's box office performance after 2 weekends in theaters is enough to help its leading star past a new box office milestone. Holy, that's what you're going to go with. I just pulled the box office numbers up here because, holy Christ, yeah, if they want to talk about another milestone that this film just hit to close out March in its second Monday in release, it just posted its lowest total, $321 per theater, $1.3 million. Oh, it's definitely getting into the 6-digit club. Probably Thursday, potentially Wednesday. Tuesday used to always be Cheap Tuesday, and that's when people would go to the theater. So I'd imagine you might see potentially a little bit of a boost, but honestly, it's not enough to drag this out of the doldrums that it's firmly affixed in. Holy Christ, man. That's really not good. I wasn't even anticipating that. I thought that it was, especially the way that this was tracking last week, I thought it was possible, but definitely not probable. But this time around, oh yeah, it's a dead certainty. And especially with Minecraft coming in, stealing a bunch of theaters, this movie is toast, okay? The fact that it hasn't cracked 150 million worldwide, and yeah, the international box office coming in $75.8 million. Yeah, this thing... oh, it'll be lucky to get on the other side of 200 million. Okay, like it's going to perform as bad, if not worse, than the Marvels. But back to Collider's glazing. But yes, Snow White has grossed $66 million at the domestic box office and $75 million internationally. Well, we can go ahead and update that. Okay, 68.3, excuse me. Not only enough to make it the second highest grossing movie of Rachel Zegler's career, to push her to a career global box office total past $700 million. Holy crap, man. That is really pulling some numbers. That's your box office milestone. Just a nebulous figure of $700 million. Who does that? Okay, and yeah, just take a look at the caliber of films that she has been in, because there's nobody else who is this toxic and who has also been in several high-profile films, okay? The A24 little indie horror film notwithstanding, but a Steven Spielberg movie that bombed, West Side Story. We know all about that one. Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, a DC superhero film. And I know, that's got those connotations as well, but I think that is, maybe outside of Blue Beetle, the worst performing DC film, full stop. It is, of course, until Superman comes out, because holy Christ, man, we got to talk about that in the near future, about how abysmal that film looks. But anyways, that one actually hurts. Not like, recanting the resume of Rachel Zegler, because that's just hilarious how she has such an elevated ego. Well, it's mostly because you get glazing articles like this, and you have all of Hollywood's most insufferable backing up your stupid decisions. So yeah, that's why you can get away with this stuff. But yeah, you're in a Steven Spielberg film, you're in a superhero movie. Oh yeah, and you're also in a Hunger Games movie, which is your highest grossing movie that still didn't turn a profit. Like, what are we doing? Okay, and this film is going to end up costing Disney about $300 million when it's all said and done, okay, because of the budget. I'd imagine once we get the UK tax credits, it's probably going to be closer to $500 million, and then you're also going to have marketing on top of that, and this thing was everywhere, bro. I know that they scaled down the red carpet premiere, but I mean, it was getting pushed on every available ad space that I could see, and I'd imagine it was similar for everyone else out there. I'm just wondering, like, how well is the merch selling? Because that's another aspect, right? Like, I haven't been to any of the big box stores that sell like kids clothes, and it's not like I make a habit of ever going past like Walmart's kids section. So I'm just wondering if there was like Snow White merch that was there, because I remember I remember going to Walmart back in the day. Oh my god, I so desperately wanted a Pokemon sweatshirt that had it had all three of the original starters. So it like had Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander, and then it had all of their evolutions. I wanted it so bad, and only Walmart had that, and that was the type of stuff that you used to get. But now, honestly, I don't know if it's cool to wear merch for any of these super popular, or at least what we're told is super popular brands anymore. And even if places like Walmart sells that stuff anymore. But anyways, yeah, back to this. Snow White opened with $42 million domestically at the box office in the live-action adaptation, then fell a startling 66% during its second weekend in theaters, while the first and negative thing that they put there, now grossing only $14 million. Snow White also stars Gal Gadot, and the film was directed by Mark Webb, with a script by Aaron Cressidia Wilson. Well, there was another name attached to this project, but we'll talk about that over the weekend, because it's so funny, right? Who is trying to distance himself from this production because they have future career prospects that they're going to go ahead and put towards ruining another franchise. Oh boy, Snow White kicked off its box office run with a nearly $40 million advantage over the second place competitor, Steven Soderbergh's Black Bag, which earned $4.2 million during its second weekend. Cap 4 fell behind both, with $4 million, and Novocaine and Mickey 17. Oh, Jesus, yeah. Mickey 17, what a disaster. But yeah, in the second weekend, you had Jason Statham's A Working Man coming in and, out earning a big budget Disney remake by over $1 million. A Working Man earned $15.5 million in his debut to Snow White's $14.3 during its second weekend. And yeah, things aren't going to get better from here. It's just, how far is Snow White going to fall in its third weekend in release? I look forward to that, but just to simply, to put a bow on this, because this is absolutely hilarious. You got Collider celebrating Snow White box office as a major victory for Rachel Zegler. That's the way that they presented it. When a $250 million Disney tentpole gets embarrassed at the box office, oh please, that Park Place, you are underselling this. It should be newsworthy. But the same movie is surrounded by controversy, audience rejection, and a spectacular second weekend collapse. It should be the story. But if you're Collider, you just need to go ahead and put on your prettiest shade of lipstick and get to sucking. Apparently, the Snow White box office is cause for celebration because Rachel Zegler just hit a new career milestone. Collider's latest article, tries to salvage the narrative around Snow White's poor performance, saying that, finally, Rachel Zegler has got up to, collectively grossed $700 million worldwide. Yeah, fucking why, okay? Let's be clear, the number is meaningless. Yeah, it's literally just picking something completely and totally at random. I mean, okay, cool, you're $1 billion hit. Okay, your movies have grossed over $1 billion. At one point in time, if you weren't a part of a major franchise, that used to be something. Okay, I remember when movies would make $1 billion and they were few and far between. Now you have several throughout the year, which it's going to be interesting because we have nothing so far that has even come close. Probably the first one that's going to get right up close to that is probably Lilo and Stitch. Okay, like it's not going to be a good film, but it's going to be a popular film. So we got to wait till May until that, and then when July comes around, like you got your three big heavy hitters in Superman, Fantastic Four, and the only one for my money that is probably going to break $1 billion in Jurassic World Rebirth. Like there's a few metrics that we're also going to have to talk about in the near future as to why I think that that's going to be the case, and then also from everything that we're seeing from Fantastic Four and especially for Superman. Jesus Christ, man, I wanted that to be good so badly, but hey, man, it's all of James Gunn's worst indulgences writ large, and if any of those plot leaks are led to believe, but no, we'll talk about that later this week. It's man, I'm pretty disappointed by that, but not as disappointed as Disney is in with Rachel Zegler, who just crossed $700 million. Snow White's box office performance, after 2 weekends in theaters is enough to help its leading star pass a new box office milestone. Translation, yes, the movie flopped, but look over here, isn't Rachel doing great? Exactly. No, she's really not. But Rachel Zegler has never had a success at the box office. The majority of her films were horrendous financial flops. West Side Story, Shazam 2, and then, yes, of course, the one that it did the best, okay, The Tallest Midget. that couldn't get hired for Snow White because Peter Dinklage kicking out the little stepladder. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the Hunger Games movie, which there's a new one of those coming out next year. Oh yeah, so if you think Rachel's going anywhere anytime soon, I got news for you. Yeah, and Snakes, yeah, pulled in far less than any of the original Hunger Games trilogy, even though there was 4 films at the time, in which the movie tickets were far more expensive. Yeah, so $700 million. I mean, you can take a look at what ended up doing the best and how this ultimately reflects on her drawing ability. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes made $349 million worldwide, which for a Hunger Games movie, that ain't shit, bro. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, $134 million. Holy crap, yeah. Blue Beetle did considerably less than that. I'm pretty sure it didn't break $100 million. But outside of that, every other one outperformed it. Okay, West Side Story, $76 million. Snow White, $143 million. It's not going to hit $200 million, so she's not going to have an... That'll be another one that's on her resume. Okay, not hitting $200 million. Okay, Y2K, $3.7 million, which, yeah, for a film that costs, like, what, $5 million, it still managed to bomb. How do you do that? Okay, like, that's nearly impossible, but hey, you know, Rachel, she can go ahead and snatch a defeat from the jaws of victory like nobody else. And Spellbound, a Netflix exclusive, yeah, with no box office. Every Zegler film has either underperformed or failed outright. That's not open for debate. It's an undeniable fact. But Collider, it's all part of a winning streak, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, she's playing the long game, right? She's just going to be out there and she's going to release 1 billion films. Ergo, she's eventually going to make $1 billion at the box office. Until you factor in opportunity and actual financial cost, then yeah, you know, she's going to end up, she might actually hit. Okay, like if you want to be fair to this, okay, if you want to go ahead and tout one of her genuine milestones, okay, Rachel Zegler might be the first actress in Hollywood to cost the studio $1 billion as opposed to make them $1 billion. What a wonderful milestone, and I look forward to Collider celebrating that achievement. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.